And now I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Olson, for 5 minutes.
I thank the chair and welcome to our panelists. As you know, this is the Subcommittee on Commerce, Manufacturing, and Trade, CMT. I'm assuming I'm speaking for Mr. Martin, but with this group, we should change that to mean come move to Texas.
I object.
I have a question for all of y'all if I have time, but first of all, I'd like answers from Mr. Martin and Mr. Judson. Clearly, I know I'm blessed living in Texas 22. Right now, at least 100 new homes are being built within 2 miles of my home in Sugar Land, Texas. The sounds of cement trucks, of hammers hitting nails at 7 in the morning are commonplace. But that growth we're experiencing in Texas is threatened by a shortage of labor. I know it's hard to find qualified workers. Mr. Martin mentioned unskilled workers such as framers, flooring personnel, HVAC, plumbers, printers, painters, bricklayers. And the lure of the high-paying, low-skilled construction jobs is long gone. When I was growing up in the 1980s, as an 18-year-old, I could not get a construction job, and I craved a construction job. Those jobs paid $6+ an hour compared to working minimum wage at some restaurant for just a little over $2 and change. I mean, I wanted to get on that hot, boiling Texas sun with that asphalt, spread that wherever it needed to go, because I'm getting paid $6 an hour. I love my 13-year-old son, but his generation won't make that choice. The work is too tough. I know that immigration reform is part of the solution, but we've proven we can't tailor our economic needs with our immigration policies. Somehow, we have to get American kids interested in these jobs again. So my question is, what can we do to encourage our youth to get involved in these jobs again? Starting in the high schools, community colleges, what can we do? Mr. Martin, you're first up, sir.
No, as I said earlier, right now on the Governor Perry's desk is HB 5, which is reforming our school system to allow for vocational training, and I think that'll go a long way to start helping. The problem is, as I said earlier, right now the average age for a plumber, electrician, HVAC technician is in the upper 50s. So they're getting closer to retirement age, and there's this huge gap of this skilled workforce that we're going to have to be contending with as we try to bring these young high school kids and right out of high school kids up into the trades and get them trained so they can make a good living despite the lure of the oil and gas industry. But I think you've got to start this vocational training that we haven't in Texas had for 10 years.
Yes, I mean, growing up, I took wood shop in 8th grade. Now, seniors in high school, the first chance you have to take wood shop. And look, I've got all 10 fingers. It was safe. I learned a lot. Mr. Judson, national perspective, what can we do to get kids excited about these jobs again, get them working, Americans working in construction industry?
The educational training is the key, whether it be on through the Home Builder Institute. I mentioned earlier about the deglamorization that's taking place for this industry. Kids coming out of high school do not want to go into the construction industry. It's a respected trade. It has been for years. When we were coming up and working in the construction trade industry, it's not perceived that way now. I think there's a perception industry and some things that we as an industry need to do to indicate that it is a respected trade, and it can be an industry that will foster from a beginning as a bricklayer to running a bricklaying crew. If our average member has 10 or so employees, that's a painting crew, that's a drywall crew. But until the high school student recognizes that's an opportunity for him to advance himself in his own career, it won't happen.
And Mr. Scabot, from Phillips Manufacturing perspective, run out of time, but what can we do to encourage our kids, get that education?
Well, I'm going to go back to my prepared comments. I think it's a question that somewhere over time, however it was generated, the educational system has encouraged everyone to prepare for a college education, and not all people should be going to college. Some people have natural skills. Some people are born musicians. Some people maybe have math skills. Maybe some people are born to be a doctor. But there are a lot of people that are born to be plumbers, electricians. I'm going to call it tool and die craftsmen. But there's no opportunity for them to get trained, whether it's, at least in the experiences that we're seeing in the states that we operate, either in the high school or the community colleges. And somehow we have to get that back into the system so that they see that these opportunities are there. And the level of unemployment we have now compared to the jobs that are available are simply people who do not have the skills or a place to go for training other than on-the-job training or the employer-provided training to learn these trades. We've got to get it back to where it comes in at a much younger level. What I'm going to go back, and as you've referred to, Congressman, as the shop classes that started in the high schools and then were continued in the community colleges, and network those with manufacturers and contractors so that they can get credit while they work out on the job. Most of us learned a lot of what we learned, not necessarily in school, but on the job training when we got out of school, whether that was part of what we're doing in call it white collar work, or what people were doing in blue collar work. Somehow we've got to get businesses, contractors to interact with the schools and get people back into training that will provide them a long-term skill and a long-term opportunity for compensation and retirement.
Thank you, guys. I'm way over my time, so I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stevens, Mr. Bozzotto, and Mr. Nadal get to those questions for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.